The Moment is the Charli XCX mockumentary, which portrays a fictionalized version of the aftermath of her zeitgeist-catching album, Brat. More specifically, it's about the troubled production of a tour film to go with that album. I'm not really a part of the target audience of this film, as someone unfamiliar with Charli XCX's music. Her collaboration with The Lonely Island and the creation of original songs for Wuthering Heights are the only two things I know of her, so I entered this film, as I often do with music biopics, not really knowing much about the focal artist. I think of it as an interesting approach and makes me less biased in my reading. Or at least, that's the intention. I found that the film itself was surprisingly effective as a studio comedy. The commentary on the contemporary corporatized music scene, coming directly from someone who's found themselves in the center of it all, provides an interesting glimpse into how the industry really works to remove personalized identity from the artists. The film is absurd, and it takes that character trait with stride, and doubles down on the weirdest shenanigans to make evident how out of place the sudden success of Brat felt like, and the perversion of it which could have potentially followed suit. There were quite a few moments where I caught myself having a laugh, mostly in the final 3-minute stretch, which I won't be spoiling, but it did weird me out that I was the only person at my screening to find the ending funny. The main draw is then Charli XCX as herself in the lead role, and, to be fair, that was my biggest point of interest with this film. After all, her acting career is only ramping up with a bevy of films in the works. There can be a 50-50 chance when people play themselves in film, and each of them requires a sense of self-awareness in order to be effective. And I think that Charli XCX, by making this film the chaotic thing that it is, and her fictionalized self to be actively flawed and out of her depth, is a solid actress. This isn't some sensationalized version of a pop star, or one who is perfect. Instead, her performance as herself here still feels relatable by putting the stress of the situation in the forefront. Her stress then propels the entirety of the film. She is the straight man to the more outlandish facets, mostly Alexander Skarsgård, and the fact that her star persona as the protagonist she plays blurs the line between actor and character, making the suspension of disbelief less of an issue, and I can accept the goings-on of the narrative more. It helps that she's good at playing herself. This isn't meant as a dig. It's surprising how many non-professional actors can't when they show up in films. Then comes the vibe of the film. I found the vibe to be immaculate. The nightclubby strobe effects, from what I know of the album Brat, fits the identity that has been carved out for Charli XCX. It is abrasive and harsh to the eyes, but I gather that that's the aesthetic of the album. There's no warm-up either. The film opens with strobe effects to get you into the world as soon as possible, and the editing from scene to scene only builds on this foundation. It also opens itself up to the less conventional mockumentary format by increasing a sense of motion sickness found in the handheld documentary look for the conveying of the nauseating experience that is the being hassled from all sides that Charli XCX is confronting throughout the film's runtime. There is obviously a comedic standout in this film, and it is in fact Alexander Skarsgård. He is giving something to this film that is antithetical to Charli XCX's entire thing here. Johannes is certainly a character with his heightened corporate, sanded down edges being forced into the concert film. The absolute opposition between the grungy and the facade of niceties with the physical comedy that Skarsgård approaches the character with sparked the funniest moments within the film. As a non-fan, this didn't convert me into a huge Charli XCX fan, and I can tell that, if I were, I'd be loving this film a whole lot more. But, as it currently stands, I was entertained more than I expected to be when I went in, and it makes me more interested to see what she does in her future film roles, such as the new Takashi Miike film she's currently attached to. The Moment. 3.5 stars. Well, that's all. Keep on watching movies, and form your own opinions. See you in the next one.